All right, brothers and sisters, welcome to the backyard once again. Today, I really just want to offer you one of the greatest gifts that I think I've received. One of the many, but definitely the greatest gift that I have received in relation to personal development, expansion of consciousness, just being present. And that gift is the gift of awareness. And really what it was is just my awareness of awareness. I read this book by Anthony DeMello recently. It was about 2.5 months ago. And it completely changed my life. Like, I think it changed my life like no other book has, by simply reading something. You know, obviously I took what was in the book and applied it to my life. And it worked. It truly worked. I'm not gonna say that I was completely transformed overnight, because now 2.5 months in, I'm seeing the process for what it is, and it's a tough process. And I'm giving you this gift, I'm offering you this gift, but first I would also like to make sure that you're prepared to receive it, because I think a lot of things actually go into this as well. It's not just the awareness practice alone that is going to raise your consciousness. It's a few other things that I want to go into as well. But again, the book is Awareness by Anthony DeMello, and I think it's life-changing. And the first thing that I realized was that I've been meditating for a very long time now. I would say around a decade, maybe more. And nothing in crazy or intense or anything like that. It's just been a mindfulness meditation, and it's kind of evolved into just like body scanning and just being present in the sensations of my body and my breath, the rising and the falling of my chest and stomach, the sensation of breathing in through my nose, and just staying present. And, you know, when thoughts kind of float in, becoming aware of those thoughts, acknowledging them and watching them kind of dissipating, and then moving back to the breath. And that's been my practice. And I've gone from not being able to even do 2 minutes of it. It was excruciating the first time I started meditating, but I've gotten up to where I've meditated for over 45 minutes, and I think even close to an hour a few times. But for me, 30 minutes a day of this every single day is just kind of like the sweet spot, and I get a lot of the benefits. But what the book Awareness made me realize is that I was utilizing meditation kind of in a passive way. I was meditating on my cushion, and then I would go out into life, into my day-to-day at my job or whatever I was doing. And I was just kind of expecting the meditation to just naturally do its thing in my brain. Like, oh, I meditated, I watched the thoughts, and it did work. I noticed that I wasn't getting caught up in my thinking all the time. I stopped overthinking and overanalyzing so much. And so it did have its benefits, but I think the main realization that I've had is that the meditation is, if like a good analogy for it is, the meditation, like a sport, is the practice. You go every day and you practice and you prepare for the game. And the game is awareness in your daily waking life. Like, you're supposed to actively employ the meditation in the day-to-day, the moment-to-moment of getting lost in thought. And this may be a very simple and basic fundamental idea, but for me, I just never put the things together. I never put two and two together. And so I realized that my awareness is my waking active practice. It's the game. It is the game. It's moment to moment while I'm speaking with somebody and they're talking, and all of a sudden their words trigger a thought in my head, and as I'm listening to them, I'm playing out a friggin' movie in my head, and I'm not even paying attention to what they're saying. And then I'm like, oh, I was lost in thought and I forgot what they said. And it's like, that was the moment where I needed to snap back into awareness. So once I realized this, and once I employed it in my life, awareness became this just beautiful thing. And it wasn't even a matter of utilizing it while I was talking to people. It was just like driving down the road, being lost in thought in the road, you know? And so I just started doing it. I started seeing how long I could keep myself in awareness. You know, oh, I'm drifting off back to the present moment, looking at my steering wheel, you know, maybe looking at the color of a car that is next to me, looking at the hair on my arms and the pores on my skin, getting like kind of detailed. And I realized that as I started paying attention to reality more and being present here in the now, I could feel myself drop in to myself, like to my center, to my true being. It's like this quiet radiance that is inside of me, that it's always there, and it's the observer. It's the observer of the thoughts. It's the observer of the emotions within you. You know, you start to realize that you are not your emotions on such a deeper and more profound level. You know, that's kind of what the meditation was teaching me. It's like, yeah, observe these things, watch these things. You are not them. But that's the whole point, is the meditation doesn't end when you get off the cushion. It makes no sense to sit there for 30 minutes a day in meditation and then walk around your normal daily life for the other 23 and a half hours, or, you know, 16 or 15 hours that you're awake in life, being completely lost and asleep, lost in thought, overthinking. It just makes no sense. It's like, if you're really serious about consciousness and awareness, you need to be practicing this moment by moment and day by day. And so awareness it's just been this profound switch for me. And so the next level to this is, and I've been hearing this a lot, especially on social media, it's like people will say, yeah, awareness is great until you start noticing every single thing and how fucked up people are, and seeing their masks and seeing their manipulations and seeing all this bullshit. It's like, it's not that great. It's actually kind of messed up. And they're right, it is. It's not always fun. It can be very overwhelming. You know what I mean? It could be a very heavy experience because you do notice everything. You see the games. You see the projections on everything. But this is where these other aspects that I wanted to get into start to take place, because it's not just simply about being aware. It's about understanding that you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. And that part of all of this awareness is accepting life for what it is and not resisting life. You know, you would think, as somebody who talks on this camera and tries to convey and transmit wisdom through my experience of life, you know, that I would be going around trying to mentor people and give everybody advice and do this and do that. And it's like, it's the complete opposite. You know, I don't do that. Nobody wants to be around the person who's always trying to tell other people how to live and what they need to do. Most people know what they need to do. They just need to do it. You know, they don't need people to constantly be telling them what is going on with life. Sometimes they just need people to listen to them. And so part of this awareness is just accepting reality for what it is, you know, accepting that most people don't even want to change. They are so conditioned in their own suffering and their own way of being that the more you try to tell them anything or try to help them out or correct it, the more embedded they are going to be in their own beliefs and opinions. So it's this resistance to life that really causes a lot of that heaviness and overwhelm and suffering, because you're starting to see everything as it is and you don't like it. It's overwhelming and you want to change it, but that's not the move. That's not a good idea. A good idea is to accept it, accept the situation for what it is, accept reality for what it is, because as soon as we realize that everything is here for us and for our growth, then it all becomes a blessing, the good and the bad, the situations and the people. Some people are just here to be mirrors to us, to point out our weaknesses and our insecurities and our flaws, not so that we can get angry at them and say, you know what, you really pissed me off. And if you just weren't such an asshole, I would feel so much better. It's like, no, that's the wrong way to look at it. You shouldn't need people to change so that you feel better. You have to be the one to accept, and awareness helps us do that. Awareness. It's paramount. It's so fundamental to higher consciousness, in my opinion. And it's like I've given up all this stuff now, like this spirituality. I mean, I enjoy spirituality, but I realize that it's not about everything that I thought it used to be, It's about being present in the moment, here and now. Realizing that this moment right here is the only moment that there is. And the future and the past, they're all concepts. Those little narratives that get triggered in our brain that we latch onto and drum up our own emotions and create fictitious scenarios, those are all illusions and concepts of the mind that do not exist. And a lot of times we're creating suffering in ourselves because we're getting latched onto those things. And so it's hard. But once you become aware, you realize when you do that and you're like, oh, I am lost in the movie of my mind right now. Let's get back to reality. And so the suffering eases because we know that a lot of this is being created by us. Most of it, if not all of it. And so, like I said, I've kind of, not that any of it was bad, like the personal development, the discipline, the quitting drinking, the quitting smoking, the meditation, the ice baths, the journaling. It's not that it is not necessary. It all had a purpose and it helped me. But it also added so much tension in my life because I always felt like I had to become better. Like I had to do these things so that I could be at ease. And it's very just counterintuitive now that I realize it. It's just like, no, like once you become aware, a lot of this neurotic thinking, this depression, this anxiety, it kind of corrects itself. It melts away because you are fully in reality. A lot of this, like for instance, just drinking, It's like when you become aware of what you're doing to yourself, you are like taking a sip consciously and you're like, I'm drinking poison right now. I'm killing brain tissue and taking years off of my life and becoming this person that is not actually me. I'm numbing myself to deal with my emotions. When you consciously do that, when you take a drag of a cigarette or keep vaping and you realize that, you're ingesting these harsh chemicals into your body, and you're just consciously doing things, you're going to see how it's a detriment to your life, and you're not going to want to do it. But it's not a resistance to it. You do it. You allow yourself to do the thing, but you be conscious of it. You be aware of it and watch yourself do it. And once you're aware of it, it's gonna fall away from you. You know, I used to live my life I used to call myself a hedonic monk. Either I was in full hedonistic mode, Epicurean lifestyle, YOLO, you only live once, or I was in full monk mode, total asceticism, discipline, you know? And when I was in full hedonistic mode, I indulged in pleasure. I constantly searched for it. I like to drink. I like to hang out and socialize and be edgy, say the craziest things and troll people. And it was just like the very dark jester side of my personality. That archetype came out in full force. And it was like a train barreling down the tracks with no brakes. And it would just lead into other things, drugs, and just getting crazier and crazier. And after a while, I'd let myself, do this and just be for a couple of years maybe. And I'd wake up one day and I'd be 40 pounds overweight and depressed, and then I'd be like, well, I got to do something about this. And then so I'd go to the other side of the spectrum. And it would be like full on discipline, eating right, working out every day, exercising, journaling, meditating, spiritual practice, keeping my room clean, making everything my priority, the important stuff, my family, my home, projects, But even on that side of the spectrum, I would find myself so dull and numb and gray because I felt like a robot. Everything was so monotonous and robotic, mechanistic, and there's no pleasure there either. And so I think the main point of this all is that we go through these extremes trying to overcorrect and trying to fix our lives in ways that they're just adding more tension. And if we utilize awareness, we can allow just simple joy to be in our life in the moment. And we can do the things that are better in moderation. So it's been a very profound shift for me. And I think that there's just, if you're interested in awareness and to practice it, it's going to light you up. It's going to light your brain up, and it's going to take you to this new level. But like anything, it's going to have that honeymoon period where you're just kind of blissed out for a while. And then you're going to reground yourself and you're going to come back down to earth. And that's when the practice begins. Don't give up once you feel better. Once you feel better is when you really kind of want to dig into that. And it's really simple. It's just about being present and being aware in the moment. And I think it's been truly transformational for me in my life. And honestly, I forgot to tell you about this, but today, this is one of the most synchronistic things that has happened to me in a long time. And so I'm currently at university, and I'm doing a class on the psychology of aging. And I used to work for a youth group in the Native American community here in my town. And I got to meet a lot of really special people. And one of those people was an elder, and he was a Yaqui elder, and he was what they called a Pascola, which is the old man of the ceremony. And he passes on knowledge to the youth and just to the culture in general. He is very ingrained in the indigenous ways of the culture, not the more newer style of like Catholicism that was kind of brought over to native tribes and colonize them in that way. He's more of the old ways. He knows the old traditions, and he wants to instill that in the kids and the people that is their true heritage and their true meaning. Anyway, he breeds and cares for moths, and they're a huge part of the culture. And it talks about the life cycle of a moth, how they start off as a caterpillar, and the food that they eat. They start off as an egg, and they turn into a caterpillar, and then they eat the leaves of the ash tree and build the cocoon and become a moth. Same thing with the butterfly. And so I did a project for university, and through my connections, I met up with him as he was teaching some classes. And it's just so synchronistic that I happened to meet up with him and start learning about him and his wisdom and what his teachings and the things that he had to offer. And because I've been doing these videos, and on TikTok, I've been talking about transformation phases, like alchemical phases, blackening phases, whitening phases, life cycles, transition periods. And then I meet up with this Yaqui elder who is, telling me his life story, but also passing along wisdom as he's simultaneously teaching kids and the youth in the reservation in the neighborhood. And here I am, kind of someone who's more middle age, coming in to learn as well. And it was just this beautiful synchronistic event of people in different cycles of life learning from each other and going through different phases in life. And so I saw this necklace, and I wanted to support his cause. And so I purchased one of these, and this is a cocoon on my necklace with some jade and some other stones. And I just thought it was kind of beautiful that I've been going through my own transformational process with awareness, with quitting drinking and really diving in on personal development and spirituality. And this awareness, man, has just really opened me up, and it really made me realize that that's one of the most important things, is just to be here now, be present. And magic happens when you're present in life and when you're aware enough to see the doors open. And if you get the chance to see a door open for you, you need to walk through it and check it out. All right, well, I think that's all for today. Enjoyed talking to you once again, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.